Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Poetry Den, where words once written on a page are now performed on stage, and solidarity extends between poets and friends. Thank you all who have are joining us virtually. um, we're still in this pandemic, as I don't have to really remind anybody about, but we are trying, like everybody else, to make this thing continue to happen, even if we can't be together physically. We can definitely be together virtually. So I'm still excited about doing this. We don't have anybody. We have a couple people signed up for the open mic. But if there's anybody that would like to read something tonight, just put it in the chat. George, my friend George here, will let me know, and we'll definitely make sure that you are heard tonight. How this works is, or how it used to work, is that we'd come together, there's an open mic, and then we would have a featured artist join us. We do have a featured artist this time, which I'm pretty excited about. We tried to have her, I think, earlier this year. And of course, all of our plans got rearranged, so I'm glad that she is here. Rebecca is here tonight. Hey, Rebecca. Uh, but yeah, please do. Please sign up if you are looking to share with us. We'd love to hear from you. I know you don't want to hear my voice all night because I'm not the feature. And basically, how we'll do it is we'll go with what we have. And then once we don't have anyone else that would like to be a part of the open mic, we'll just have our featured artist join us. So, can everybody hear me pretty good? Yes? Thumbs up? Yeah. Awesome. All right. Usually I have my friend George share something, but we got things kind of rigged up differently here. Um, but this place that we're in, we've been here probably, I want to say 3 or 4 years now. And we are definitely honored that the Civil Rights Heritage Center would have us. It's a privilege to be here in this space, a historical space, a transformed space. And I encourage you to include the Civil Rights Heritage Center in one of your groups. Be informed of what's happening here. They're doing things all the time, and they, as the rest of the world, are being creative as far as how to stay connected to the world and how to be a part of solutions and come together in unity. And then also, if you have not joined our page, the Poetry Den page, we encourage you to do that as well. That's where you can kind of find out information. Next month in December, it won't be on the fourth Sunday, but it will be on the third Sunday because of the holidays. So it'll be December 20th will be our next Poetry Den. So I'm going to start us off with a poem or two, and then I'll see who else is out there that wants to join me, which would be awesome. This piece that I wrote is called Truth. And it's basically something that I wrote about myself. It's usually like an introduction that I do when I go out and perform poetry. Who am I? I am creator, born from creation, breath of life, a mind of artistic imagination. Driven by passion, art of expression, I am your true craftsman. I am twisted words of truth, undocumented proof, and I give no excuse to what my pen might produce. My enthusiasm is to give you an eargasm of a whole lot of sarcasm, because it's the only time people really tell the truth. And they say the truth shall set you free. But what you fail to believe is that transparency has a warranty. So you'll expire quickly to lies just so you can get by. Just so you can get by on American dreams, as it seems for things you can't really afford. Or furthermore, save for tomorrow, having no real credit in this life unless you continue to borrow. So strapped for money that divided, we can't stand up for justice. So united, we fall for anything. Is our future even promising? When was the last time you built a castle in the sand? Where are the coloring books with crayons? And when did computers take over the art of drawing freehand? And when did Facebook become my new listening friends? And inserting LOL behind comments keep me from the offend? Even now, your undivided attention I commend. I am the potter on the wheel. To you, my thoughts I conceal, a beautiful mind revealed. The pen, my sword, the paper, my shield. Through poetry, I could heal. And that's that piece. I wish I could hear everybody clapping and snapping. It's always an encouragement, but I see you out there, so that's awesome. I'm gonna read another one. Here. And I wrote this piece, it's called The Black Woman, and I wrote this for Arts and Justice curriculum that I did with Dave Bryant, and we had some poets that wrote some pieces for that, and so I wanted to share this piece also. The Black Woman. From her womb, civilization is born. She's expected to be strong and preserved. Aggression said to be her imbalance, sexualized by her body, she suffers in silence. Her features are strong, her lineage is long. Her skin is dark chocolate, milk chocolate, white mocha, and butter pecan. Her crown, touched out of curiosity, judged by its ability and or inability, compared to standards of beauty by the European community. Have you ever noticed black hair care in the store? We have one or two shelves, while white hair product will take up the whole aisle on the floor. Mama to her own sisters and brothers, she's now a single mother. Yet no one sees the trauma. The burden she bears with family became her medal and badge of honor. Loneliness she begets, religion prescribed to fill the gap. And for a moment, her desires for human touch go into remission. Her emotions are not up for discussion. Overlooked by potential black lovers, undervalued as a person of color, with this she learns to code switch. We call this black politics. Articulate because they expect her to use ebonics. Her urban flair didn't keep her from being hooked on phonics. Up the ladder, they didn't think she would climb. They always envisioned her lazy and in the welfare line. A better way of life she desired and God designed. In order to feel the status quo, she enters the boardroom where no one looks like her. A debt to diversity to reimburse. Her opinions and suggestions are only a blur. You kill her softly with microaggressions, just so no one will call it racism. Implicit bias is a real thing. Yes, it's another word on the privilege we infringe. The health of the Black woman is under attack. She has had to adapt due to the stigma that the world has attached. Even her own people won't protect. Mentally, she is worn and overtaxed, the Black woman. That piece I actually have been reading some articles about Black women and their infertility and mental status. And I guess I didn't know that it was like all over the place. Like literally you can Google it and there's like 100 different articles there, and it inspired me to write that piece. So I appreciate that. Eva, if you're out there, are you willing to share with me?
Yep.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, good to see you.
All right, I have 3 poems I would like to share today. The first one I'd like to share is called Mom. It's a little personal. It's about my relationship with my mother, but it's also about wanting to be a mother and looking forward to that in the future. So it's called Mom. Up to her elbows in flour and a thin butter sheen, glistening like sticky summer sweat hovering above a ruby red upper lip. I remember my mother like this, kneading the biscuit dough, Johnny Cash's rustic rumble rattling through the old radio, or hands folded in nightly prayer, waiting for my father to come in from the barn, thinning hair lined with hay chaff, which is almost thinned out all the way on top, now like my grandfather's before he passed away last spring. That is to say, we all end up somewhat like our parents, which is my greatest pleasure and fear, being my mother. Proud, hardworking, but stubborn, obstinate, steadfast, maybe to the point of self-destruction, to the point we never got along and I never forgave her for things that weren't her fault, to the point I am still over here, 22, adamantly ready to be a mother, but not my mother. No, not my mother, hair pasted to her determined forehead, gentle palms pressing and pushing rhythmically into the warm, clay-like dough, while I watched, peering around the kitchen doorframe in admiration. The second poem I have today is called On the Death of My Grandfather, and it's for my grandpa on my dad's side that passed away about a year ago now. When Grandpa passed away last spring, we watched the roadside wildflowers grow amongst the discarded styrofoam McDonald's Coca-Cola cups, cigarette butts, and half-chewed burgers, now blooming with rot, framed perfectly by the tall tangle of overgrowth. We walked, quiet eyes examining the texture of the blacktop as the cars whizzed past in a hurry to conquer their unhappiness. We walked until we reached the park where we grew up and laid our delicate spines against the cool, rusted rainbow of the metal merry-go-round, heads dangling over the spinning edge, eyes blurring to the rushing sounds of wind, distant traffic, and each other's voices rising like a sacred chant into the warming April air, telling stories that he once told and laughing at the ones we would tell our own grandchildren when we too began to wither and wrinkle and forget who we were, but never who we, forget who we are, but never who we were. It was not until dusk when we were tired, lungs burning, faces smudged with clouds of dust and muddy tears, as we felt around in the dark for each other's sweaty palms, and finally said goodbye. And then the final one I'd like to read is called Spider-Proofing, and this poem is about love, but kind of I think a lot of people focus on the moment when they remember falling in love with someone. But this poem's more about that moment when you realize that beautiful feeling that somebody loves you deeply and unconditionally. So it's a short one called Spider-Proofing. You first told me you loved me with whispered words in the gravel pit, end of August, the brine from the day's canning still clinging to your shoulder blades along the sweat and the cobwebs. But I knew before then. I almost had to, because you grew motor legs and pedaled around our 250-foot square foot apartment, spraying peppermint oil until dusk to ward off the spiders. I watched them scurry away in hordes, thinking the entire time of crawling into your cradle arms and sinking. And that's all I have today.
Yeah. Well, Eva, stay around. Hopefully we can call you back. And if you got some more you want to share with us, that'd be awesome. All right. Well, on the Facebook page, on the Portrait in Facebook page, I actually added something. Panel Ply is doing they're asking for submissions for haikus. And so if anybody out there wants to write some haikus and submit them, that information is on there. I want to say that there's like a $50 prize if you submit and they draw your name or however that works. That is available. So with that, I think I'm gonna read some haikus just for fun, some old haikus that I wrote. Slumber just to dream, this deja vu caught between my reality. Ice falls from the sky, tree branches bow to the wind, spring ceremony. Points to the dark sky, mommy, that's God's fingernail, smiles at crescent moon. Ruler in the field, yet no king of the jungle, the dandelion. Woke up this morning, my menu of the day is sunny side up, please. And I'll read one more. The keys of life play, a song that speaks to my soul. The pianist bows. So again, if you are interested in submitting some haikus to Panel Ply, they would love to have you do that, and you will also be entered into a competition to win some type of $50 prize. Again, if you're out there listening to us, thank you for being here. Poetry Den virtually. If you'd like to join us in this open mic session right now, we'd love, 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 love to have you to be here along with me and share some of your poetry. So I'm going to read another one, and then I'm going to have my friend Lori share with us as well. Okay. Let's see. My little thing doesn't have them in order, but here we go. This piece I wrote was definitely inspired by like Friday, always hoping for Friday, right? Like, when is Friday gonna be here? Usually we say that like Monday afternoon. And so that's why I called this like the art of rushing time. They say time waits for no one, but will it wait for me? Time places no hands on the clock. For eternity, no man has lived to see. What if your time spent in this world was only preparing you for the next, and how you respond could leave you inadequate for the trip? Will you be deficient or inequipped because you refuse to love and refuse to forgive? A master of time and a slave to the wait. Time is too long to grieve and fear too hard to marinate. With no time to lose and your true purpose to gain, time does not wait for you to love, time waits for hate to eradicate. With every hurried moment, a shovel throws dirt to the wind, 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet deep. And you will lie quietly finally. From dust you were formed, to dust you will return officially. Ask me to calm the wind or to stop the rain, to pray for those encumbered with pain. But don't ask me to rush time and fast forward. DVR when you can't live in the moment. Time rises, time falls. Time seems to stand still, and time absorbs. Time buys and time flies. Time says hello, and in time says goodbye. Time is everything we know and everything we know not of. Time will tell time in minutes and in quarters. Time will add up for richer or for poorer. How we spend time is the wealth of our soul. There is no real art to rushing time, just poetic melodies told. That's that piece. Lori, would you love to join me here? I think they just need to, you just need her to.
Hi.
Yeah, there you are. Awesome.
Wow. How are ya?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm hanging in there. I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, whatever you want to share,
Okay.
have at it.
I have a small, it's fairly short. Yeah, it actually is pretty short, if you know me. I write pretty quickly. This is called Poems by Firelight. November 2020. Remember all those beautiful balmy days we had earlier this month?
Mhm.
I sat outside and I have like a little I have a little cauldron of fire, and so I wrote poetry while the sun went down watching the fire. 1, staycation. So stressful this autumn. Grateful for time away from full-time gig and balmy weather. Perfect night to burn stuff and write. Solitary and sobriety rather than lonely and tipsy with a frenemy named Cab. Mind is anxious, but we'll take it over sadness. Tonight will mark 50 days I fought for serenity, and tomorrow will mark 51. 2, trying to stay positive during this election, pandemic, an unexpected diagnosis, a reminder of finite time racing by. Hope my aching body does not cross finish line until soul readies only when soul purpose is complete. 3, nightfall, church bells ring. 6 o'clock feels like midnight and looks like it too. Does not sound like the gossiping crickets, the loud room of motorcycles out for the last hurrah before cold snaps and cold falls. Then winter will sound like midnight later after the church bells ring. 4, I used to be terrified of the dark, especially in the present. The lights dimmed, I could not see. Now I am more afraid to see a permanent darkness tomorrow. 5, listen to sound of a distant ambulance. Worry if someone's body gave out. Inhale, a somber reminder of gnawing pain in my broken liver.
Mm.
Thank you. I'm 65 days sober today.
Yay, awesome.
So that's been on my mind a lot lately. So
Yay.
thank you.
You have another one you want to share with us, or?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be
As long as you
great.
have time, I don't want to be a time hog.
We got time. We got a little bit of time here, so.
Let me find one real quick here. Mary Lynn's Opus, Part 1. This is a musical poem. Drum lessons started when the child stumbled upon her teacher's snare. She wanted to play in a Midwestern parade and aspired to make it there. Her knuckles turned white as the girl held on tightly to thick wooden sticks. She learned drum rolls, the rough, the flam, rudimental tricks. Mary Lynn's Opus Part 2. Time progressed, and the young woman marched up to the snare. Ignorant to the glowering competitive eye, she played the cadence with flair. She marched and played in a Midwestern parade and beyond.
Mm.
I wrote that in 1997.
Always oldies but goodies. I love them.
Yeah. Do you have time for any more, or?
Yeah, go ahead. You read another one. I'll read some, and we'll see who else is out there. And then, yeah, we'll just move forward.
Okay. This one is called the Mocha Song, and I kind of wrote it kind of an homage to Barry Manilow because I'm definitely a Fanilow. So
Nice.
it's called the Mocha Song. I like mocha. It's better than coca. And when I drink it dry, I really know why. I like mocha. It's sweeter than coca. Latte, espresso, even cold cappuccino. I like mocha more than anything else. Bum, bum, bum. I had to be cheesy.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Shevelin, I see you out there. You want to read something with us tonight? I went. She might say something, but I'm going to share another one with you. It's called "I Have No Agenda." I have no agenda other than surrender the hurt that was once in exchange for who I need to become. Sometimes including you, means including a once me, a vulnerable me, a self-inflicting prison with one warden me. My memories of you lying beneath skies promising blue are bleeding from green razor blades of grass. I am reminded of how I relapsed. I've ran marathons with anger until the bottom of my shoes felt like paper. I've longed for finish lines of forgiveness that only felt like traitors. Funny how the hourglass is now much louder than the minutes on the clock that pass. An image and imagine time wasted looking at your life through dirty plexiglass. I dip my paintbrush into tear-stained cups, each new day a blank canvas on an easel with color I hope can erupt. The control to change my world are like emeralds and pearls, waiting to be reassembled with eyes released from tightened blindfolds. I breathe, I write poetry. I breathe, I write poetry. I breathe, I write poetry. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I'll share this one. This one was written for the Civil Rights Heritage Center. I think around the time that it was being recognized as a historical landmark here in the city that people have worked so hard to accomplish. So, the Civil Rights Heritage Center, a historical oracle, hidden within brick and mortar, stories of justice emerge from the waters. 71% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. Water also exists in the air as vapor. Our skins, organs, and bones consume large amounts of moisture, and water is used in a variety of metaphorical sculptures. Let's abstract the symbolism of water and why Black folk couldn't sip from public drinking fountains. The very significance of water was clear, and why it was withheld from the very vibrance of brown skin. Birmingham and the Civil Rights Movement. In a protest, 4 Black youth were sprayed with a water hose as a source of punishment. Underground railroads rescued hundreds. The water that once gave way to enslave, conductors used rivers to escape. Think it not a coincidence that Black churches have a pool in the midst of their sanctuary, not for swimming, but for the soul. Water brings purity. And for most of you that know that this used to be a public swimming pool, and we use the word public very lightly, as it was definitely segregated and it was not open to people of color. And so that's, again, that piece was written around water and this place actually being a place where people could swim, or supposedly everyone, but definitely not everyone. Anyone else out there? Eva, is she still there? If you want to join us again, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I have a few more poems.
Yeah. Awesome.
This first is called Love Like Chunks of an Animal. It's actually, the title comes from a line from a poem by Jack Gilbert called Things on Fire. It just struck me as like an interesting line. So my poem's not really super connected to that poem. It's just that's where the title comes from. Love Like Chunks of an Animal. He said, "Love me stronger, not louder." But his voice was drowned out by the clinking of the Wednesday garbage man beeping and bumping his way down the silent 8 a.m. autumn streets. And when we decided it was time to make our love concrete, we got hitched in the old Monhoot barn, pretended we would always be as happy as the wild geese flying yearly in rhythm with parenthood and warmth. But the loving grew tough, began to tighten like leather, its strength evaporating into the thin, balding air of approaching winter. And then all that we had was the deafening shriek of the geese leaving, fleeing in hunger of each other. I would weep all night, wanting to be loved raw like chunks of an animal, dripping long ribbon trails across the first snow of this season, proof of their brutal deaths. And then the next one I'm going to share is about, it's about a lot of things. It's about my parents' divorce, kind of trying to make sense of that as a young girl. And it kind of came about in an odd way, but it's supposed to be a little humorous at the beginning as well. It's called Bowels. I can't be the only one who has ever weighed myself before and after an anticipated extensive voyage into the grimy bathroom. I mean, it is human to want to know the difference between things, how subtraction and extraction can leave a person feeling empty. Like when I was 8, splashing in the rusted farmhouse bathtub, trying to understand displacement, while my parents fought themselves into divorce below. And I stayed in there for hours, afraid to face the sudden quiet that had swept through that ancient house like an alluvial fan. I tried to understand again, bringing my arms wide into the stagnant air and then diving them beneath a bubbly surface, then rotating until my stomach lay flat against the cold, stained tub, closing my eyes, imagining myself sinking somewhere off the wild Atlantic coast, descending like a dead whale, dropping endlessly into the dark, foamy bowels of sea.
Mm.
And that's all I have. Thank
All
you.
right. George, you see anybody else in there? Okay. Well, what I will do is I'll read another piece, and then we'll bring on our featured poet for this evening. This is a piece that I share a lot, and it's called Lifeness Complexity. It's been in a few published books. It's a favorite of mine, and it just it's also just very fitting, especially now. Life and its complexity. A blind man's canvas does not stereotype in color. It absorbs each tone with a brushstroke, one after another, until it creates unity. Unity that comes with sincerity, a place for clarity and solidarity. Intertwined with grace, a different perspective of reality and race. And this race is so fast-paced, dreams have been shuffled into how I get my next hustle, while money has become the new international version of the gospel. My mama always said, everything that glitters ain't gold, and Lord knows why suicide resides in those that make people laugh for a living, while depression inside creates a lynching. Life and its complexity, truth and its infidelity, justice and its immorality, Christianity and its popularity, and peace. Peace has no amount of gratuity. But then there's love, the phantom in my opera, the beauty in my beast, who sings the sound of music only dream girls seek, while raising in the sun. I got smoke and thoughts, gunpowder on my lips, words like bullets interject these lyrical rhymes into open minds and anyone who might be spiritually inclined to hear me. The two most important times in life, the day you were born and the day you figured out why. At least that's what Mark Twain said, and it made real good sense in my head, so why not share? But at the end of the day, the sun will reach his hand out to the moon. Ocean's waves will dance to an orchestra's tune. Seashells will come ashore as the Sandman prepares to confess his love once more until she stays in life's complexity. And that's that piece. Once again, we are working hard at trying to bring a little more familiarity. I messed the whole word up, but we're trying to get back to where we were a little bit. as far as like having a featured artist with us here at the Poetry Den. And so since everyone's doing the virtual thing, we are doing that as well. And we want to be able to have featured artists with us. So I asked a friend from St. Mary's College, where I used to work for like 11 years before moving over to working for Notre Dame. And I worked for the English department, and she is a professor in the English department at St. Mary's College. So she was more than happy to be with us and share with us tonight. And I'm just going to share with you a short little version of her bio. Rebecca Lehmann is an author of the poetry collections Ringer, which won the 2018 Donnell Hall Prize for Poetry and was published by University of Pittsburgh Press in 2019 in between the crack-ups. Her poetry has been published in Tin House, Plowshares, Prairie Schooner, and other venues, and featured on the Slowdown with Tracy K. Smith, the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day program, and the New York Public Library's Poem in Your Pocket project. I actually like that. She lives in South Bend, Indiana, where she is an assistant professor of English at St. Mary's College. If you all there, if you're all live, please welcome Rebecca Lehmann. Snaps, claps. You're opening it up for her.
Thanks, Pam.
Yeah.
Can you all hear me okay? Excellent. Thank you so much, Pam, for having me. I wish I could be there with you tonight at the Civil Rights Heritage Center. I loved your poem that was dedicated to the space, such a special space. So hopefully one day soon, everybody can be there again in person. And thank you to Eva and Lori for those beautiful poems that you both shared as well. I'm going to read a few poems from my second book, Ringer, and then I'm going to read a few newer poems that I've written since the book came out, and mostly since this pandemic started. But I'll start with the title poem of my second book, which is Ringer. It's a poem that I wrote after I had my first child, and he was a colicky baby, and I had postpartum depression, and new motherhood was kind of jarring, as it is for most people. So it's kind of a poem about just sort of like those repetitive cycles of motherhood, and how things are beautiful, but also a little bit terrifying at the beginning of being a mother. Ringer. Each morning trumpeted into being with a chorus of baby squawks. Daffodils pushed through the barely revealed spring mud. Crusted snow clung to the curbs. In his crib, my infant son sucked his fist until he gagged. The polka dot mesh crib bumper that we painstakingly selected surrounded him. In the afternoons, I pushed the stroller around the block and around the block again, taking note of the finely painted Victorian homes, each so full of wood, waiting to be undone by one errant spark from a frayed electric wire. I pushed the stroller around the block again. I put the baby in a snowsuit that made him look like a bear. The neighborhood nodded its approval. We left winter behind. My infant son smiled in my arms. Spring opened up to us, the days stretching like the baby himself in his crib after his morning nap. I was not on the couch crying. Who knew how the afternoon would unfold? I put the baby down for a nap. I cradled the baby in a creaky wooden rocker. I held the baby in my arms. He smiled. He bounced his open mouth against my shoulder. We lay on the living room floor, he on his playmat, me on the rug, listening to Joni Mitchell. Oh, starlight, star bright, you've got the lovin' that I like, all right. Turn this crazy bird around. I walked the baby around the block in the stroller. The clouds nodded their approval, let fly a short frenzy of final snowflakes that glistened in the afternoon sun. The baby quaked his clenched fist. I put the baby in a vibrating chair that rocked back and forth and played electronic lullabies. Why is the bumblebee yellow and black? Why does the snow recede from the back porch like waves of sadness? The tulips poked up through the dead earth, not unlike the tulips stitched into the decorative quilt that hung above the hospital bed where I gave birth. There, 2 medical students held my legs and joked about going to the gym. The epidural coursed strong medicine into my spine. The anesthesiologist flitted in and out of the room like a large hummingbird. Finally, I held the baby in my arms. He opened his eyes. His eyes were all the hungover mornings I'd forgotten, every drunken sunrise I'd slept through. His eyes were 4 dozen Canadian geese lifting off a late summer river all at once. So I'll read a poem next that's a little bit shorter than that one was. This is a poem that's called The Sea, and it's from the point of view of the sea. So it's the sea speaking. The sea. Blame me for ebbing, for the printed currents lisping beneath my spangled apron. I was the ladder, and I was the fall from the ladder. My rough chop the stitches in your tender scalp. All my anemones caressed aseptic reason, their multitudinous neon phalanges prayerful and repressed. Like lightning-struck trees' covetous tops, my deepest trenches split. In their biblical darkness, I imagined dozens of rabbits gliding blithely as through tall prairie grasses on a hot, dry day in Nebraska. Off tempo and out of key, I kicked and hit, massaging the needy sandstone cliffs of this or that coastline. My paint chip waves crested and crumbled. No soggy horn could counterfeit my gold-toothed fog, my California tan, the freshwater slicks of my ice sheets, the brine-sharpened bows of my sunken ships. Now you see Atlantis, my own husband, synaptic in the high noon sun. Now you don't. So this is the last poem that I'll read from Ringer. It's a poem that I wrote when I was pregnant with my son and I was having a hard time writing. I had really bad brain fog at the time. And I was living in upstate New York at the time in a really isolated part of the state, and the winter was very long, and I was really missing my home. I grew up in Wisconsin, right on Lake Michigan. So it's wonderful to be in South Bend, Indiana, not too far from Lake Michigan now, and able to feel so connected. So it's kind of a love letter to the Midwest and to the Great Lakes states, and particularly to Great Lake Michigan, which I think is the greatest of the Great Lakes. Although Superior is pretty great too. It's called Superior, which makes you think it's got to be the best one.
Right.
Yeah, right. Okay, this is called Epithalamion, and an epithalamion is a poem that's written for a wedding. Epithalamion. When I was a girl in Wisconsin, I dreamed I'd marry a man from Michigan. Then I did. When I was a man from Michigan, I dreamed I'd marry a begonia, flowers choked with pollen. When I was a flower from Michigan, I dreamed I'd marry a comet, swooping around Jupiter, warming as it hurtled towards Mars, growing a slick ice tail. Remember Rithke's boyhood in Michigan, all the bogs and swamps and German ladies pruning roses in hothouses while Midwestern snows settled on dormant backyards. When I was the snows of Michigan, I dreamed I married a hothouse. Remember the snap of the branch in the dark, fecund hothouse? I used to smoke so many cigarettes. When I was a cigarette in Michigan, I dreamed I'd marry the sidewalk. When I was the sidewalk, I dreamed I'd marry Milwaukee. When I was Milwaukee, I dreamed I'd marry Lake Michigan. All around me, photos document my heteronormativity. When I was Lake Michigan, I dreamed I'd marry a sea lamprey. When I was a sea lamprey, I dreamed I'd marry the side of a trout darting through algae. When I was an algal bloom, I dreamed I'd marry a farmer. Quit listening. Say no to who I am. When I was a farmer, I dreamed I married the government. When I was the government, I dreamed I married every gnarly bluff east of the Mississippi. There's the Mississippi, Old Man River, the Big Muddy, etc., etc. When I was a muddy old river, I dreamed I married a pumpkin patch. When I was a girl in Wisconsin, I arranged pumpkins in my front yard to sell to tourists from Chicago. When I was a tourist from Chicago, I dreamed I married a pastoral fantasy. I cracked open a rock and it was loaded with crystals. When I was a crystal, I dreamed I'd marry the sky. When I was the sky, I dreamed I'd marry a girl from Wisconsin. When I was pregnant, I dreamed I married my fetus. A muddy river separated us. I woke up hungry, narrating an epic poem. The Odyssey did not foretell my marriage. When I was Odysseus, I dreamed I married all of Penelope's hanged maids, even though I hanged them. Their dangling feet twitched across our wedding night. When I was a hanged maid, I dreamed I married the law, but there was no law. When I was lawlessness, I dreamed I married a chorus. Their song split open like Michigan. At its bottom, a baby gulped the new air.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple of newer poems. I think while I'm in the land of home, I'm going to read a poem that's partially set here in South Bend, Indiana, right before the pandemic happened, but like before we knew it was going to happen, which seems like a very nice time right now, before we knew something was going to go wrong. And part of it is also set in the past in Wisconsin. And I grew up in a town that's right on Lake Michigan, and that has a big bay in the middle of the town. And there's a big steel bridge that goes over it, and you can walk over the steel bridge. And when you're walking over it, it's just like a steel grating. So when I was a kid, I was always so terrified. I walked over it because that was the only way to get from one side of town to the other. But because you could see the waves below, it always scared me so much. So that shows up a little bit in this poem. Revision with playground and seizure. We were in the shared space of hello, the shared persuasive space of goodbye. The vaulted windows of the kindergarten overlooked the playground, each child copying it on their own clean sheet of paper, drawing a scribbled up tree. I was holding the baby. I was always holding the baby. In the trees outside, the sunlight pelted some birds. My son hid behind my legs. In the first draft of the day, there is time, which belongs to everyone. There's a sergeant sun in the sky, bossing the minutes. My son climbs into my bed in the morning, complaining of a sore throat. One of his cats is dead, but he still has the other one. He's had a tummy ache all weekend. In the second draft, the power is still on, and I'm making breakfast for both kids, the baby singing ma, ma, ma in her high chair, smearing milk from her sippy cup into her hair. In the third draft, a beeping alarm shouts, "Get up, get up." We are here on the playground, my husband running to my daughter as she knocks herself over with a swing. The sun has come to give us flowers. The flowers turn into a river, a gust of wind carrying the autumn chill, the pulsing nerve in the center of my brain that once, when I was a child, flipped and flipped as I convulsed on the floor in a sun-hot fever. And there were my parents, for once holding hands with each other, before the rushed ride to the hospital, where a doctor stuck a needle in my spine to test for meningitis, and my father held my arms down, and my mother cried in a chair outside the room, unable to watch the whole thing. I remember the mystery, like today, why time stopped, but didn't, the hot crackle of a list of things I'd forget, that I keep forgetting, like my father's young face staring back at me, or the time he carried me on his shoulders all the way over the steel bridge into the center of town, whistling a George Thorogood song, the rush of the cold bay beneath the walkway grating, the cars speeding by beside us. We were on our way to see my mother, who was finishing her shift at a diner. We must have all smiled when we united, though I can't remember that. We must have all clung together, like I do with my kids now, on the playground, like the sun clung to the sky when I woke in a strange bed as a child and could see the sun driving time forward through the hospital curtains. Even then, I knew it was trying to piece something together that wouldn't work. That's the fourth draft, the cycling sun, the stranger phantom of the day.
Nice. Very nice.
Okay, so I'm gonna read, let's see, just a couple more poems. I think I'm gonna go to some poems that I've written since March. And, you know, I feel like for all of us, it just is like something weird, something happened, and it's like there's a before the COVID and then after COVID. And we're still, maybe a during COVID and we're still there.
Right.
Yeah, so this is a poem that I wrote in May, and the poem references like the death totals of the time, which now seem so small compared to what we've had now, but at the time, of course, seemed very large. It's called Predictive Models. What if even the birds were recorded? What if my husband was? There he is, waving his hands over his head, signaling, I give up, or come over here. I can't tell. What if poetry doesn't mean anything when compared to a refrigerated morgue truck, to a fleet of morgue trucks, to a pile of abandoned bodies in a nursing home's small morgue? Stop. My therapist says I need to learn about mediums. What does that even mean? Don't just stop things, she says, but I have always just stopped things. She wants me to listen to Brené Brown. She wants me to write a poem through it. LOL, I type in the chat window when her call drops. I drink too much, then I stop drinking. I don't exercise at all, then I exercise all the time. LOL, LOL, I type on my phone. LOL on Twitter. When I was younger, I was anxious constantly. Stop. About what? It's May. The projections are for 1,500 deaths a day. 31 times 1,500 is 46,500 deaths, a number I can't comprehend. This president is a murderer. Stop that. There's his wife, so chic, LOL. There's his own pale bottom, LOL. There's the swab stuck down his nose again, LOL, LOL. We run into the arms of the day and hope we're not running into a morgue truck. We run into the recorded birds. Their message is just birdsong. LOL, it has no meaning. A child screams in the graveyard behind my house. Her brother is chasing her. LOL, I tell the birds to tell my husband, busy reading a book with our son. LOL, I tell the mean, sober air. LOL, LOL, LOL.
Whoa, wow.
Thank you, Pam. You are like the best audience member ever.
my guy back here, George, is snapping too, man. I wish you could see him.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I'll read a couple more poems. So these are all poems that I wrote this summer. I ended up getting COVID in August, and it was not great for any of you that have had it out there, I'm sure. Luckily, I did not have to be hospitalized, but I had double walking pneumonia and ended up in bed for about a month and a half. Yeah. So I wrote these poems before that happened, but reading them now, they almost feel a little bit predictive that it was like, you know, it was just on my mind so much. And also kind of in the background of these poems, both of my children had pneumonia in winter right before COVID happened. So we're still a little curious about what that was about and whether that might have been some early COVID cases or whatever. But regardless, it was very scary when it happened. So that shows up in this poem and in some of these poems that I'm about to read. And they're all pretty short poems. This is called Mule. In the distance, catastrophe crackles, the lazy sway of a swing, the heartfelt error, the ruby held in one's own mouth for luck. Thanks, logic, with your rules. Thanks, time, your tense second hand. Thanks, allegory, always a woman riding nude upon a noble horse. A woman rides nude upon a braying mule. She is not pretty or young. Her hands catch the beast's neck. Behind these meanings, another set of meanings. Behind one child's cough, the other child also coughing. The na 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 of Fleur Elise. I will always remember the cough, and behind that more, like a naked woman floating on the water's greasy surface, like marigolds, like the dead.
Wow.
Okay, so I'll read 2 more poems. This poem is called Moses. When we finished drinking, we listened to REM. I painted the kids' toenails. In another state, people died in a number staggering, we knew was coming for us. The days piled up. We ordered a swing set when the playgrounds closed. We ordered a toy baby bottle. We cradled the babies in our arms. I tried to hide the tears I choked out in the bathroom, and all the birds, the cardinals and blue jays and eagles that came flying out of hiding, I guess. I pictured our babies in glitter, in sunlight, in caskets, held as flowers in baskets, as Moses sent down the Nile by his mother, squatting alone at the river's edge, coaxing, live, live.
Mm.
Okay, so this is the last poem that I'll read, and it's called Cerberus, which is like a 3-headed dog that guards the entrance to hell.
Right.
You know, 3-headed dog. You know.
I do know.
And this poem references a poem by John Donne, who was a 17th century English poet. And he wrote a lot of poems, a lot of sonnets called the Holy Sonnets that were about his own struggles with faith. So there's a line, batter my heart, 3-personed God, that shows up here. And this song also references the weekly addresses that Andrew Cuomo was giving in New York when the pandemic broke out. And as someone that had lived in New York for many years, I was watching those during that time just for like a sense of somebody being in charge, because it seemed like there was such a vacuum of leadership. Although I don't live there anymore, it was nice to see somebody who seemed to be on top of it and taking things seriously. Cerberus. Last night, the rain came to put me to bed. I dreamed of the governor and his daily briefings. Behind every one of those numbers is an individual, is a family, is a mother, is a father, is a sister, is a brother, so a lot of pain. In the morning, we were at home. We were always at home. I took the children for a walk in the graveyard where a backhoe dug a fresh grave, and some workers, some still allowed or required to work, cleared a stand of trees. I thought to myself, they are preparing. The watchdog of my heart is wild and 3-headed, clutching a scavenged bone in each of its hungry mouths. Batter my heart, 3-personed God, goes a poem I once memorized. Batter my heart, batter my heart, batter my heart. Its keeper is gone, released, running through empty streets, howling in triplicate, in tercets, at every mother's, father's, brother's, sister's bedroom window.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I'm glad that you are doing much better. I didn't know that, you had COVID, and not that I would know that, but I'm glad that you have recovered from that. This is a hard year. It's really a hard year. And I wish I could be here, with not, sitting with a mask on my face, but for the sake of me loving my friend here, George, and George loving me, we are following what is safe for everybody. Even when we don't know where this thing is at, we just try to follow what we can. But we also want to create this space where people can share, like the poems that you shared. They're very deep, they're very intimate, they're very powerful, they're very meaningful. And so we always want to provide the space for people to share these things we can relate. So I encourage, those of you that are out there listening, to tell those that you know that write or want to share. It's really pretty open here. You don't have to be um, a published person to come and read and share. It's never been that way. It's always been open and a safe place to do that. We're going to again continue trying to have featured artists as Rebecca has been here, Professor Layman has been here today. But yeah, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate those of you, Eva and Lori, that shared tonight. Thank you for coming along aside me and doing that. We hope that you all have a great holiday. Those of you out there listening, those of you that are here visibly in front of me, hope that you have a great Thanksgiving. Try to be as safe as possible. It's very difficult. I know it's a very difficult time for us. We want to be with family but we also want to live too, to see our family more than past Thanksgiving. So at least I know I do. And it's one reason why I've altered, seeing my son and my mother. So, but again, thank you all. Hope your holiday is wonderful, as wonderful as we can make it. We can create spaces to do that. And we will be back here on December 20th it'll be the third Sunday of the month versus the fourth Sunday. Again, we have another featured artist, so we encourage you to come, share a piece of poetry with us. Let's try to come together and just spread some holiday something, a smile. It's good to see you guys' faces. I wish I could show my face, but it's good to see you guys' faces. So I am smiling behind this, if you can't tell, as my glasses are fogging up. But again, thank you for being here. Love you guys. We love the Poetry Den. We love Civil Rights Heritage Center, and we appreciate you. So, guys, have a good night, and we'll see you again, okay? Thank you.